Beautiful angle.
Planning, standing, all the time is spanning, waiting for the show to grow. Writing, fighting, all the new inviting, waiting for the show. Soon we'll see all the hard work's come to the peak. Have a seat. Now let's meet. This is Sirius AI, and we are seriously caffeinated.
Well, today we have got some incredible people to talk to. They are the folks who make the magic happen behind the scenes, right? They are pretty much the same people who make Disney magic happen. Instead of making Disney magic happen, they make Sirius magic happen. So, John, I'm going to give you the drum roll, and you are going to introduce our two guests of the day.
All right. In one corner, we have Jessica Gray. Hi, Jessica.
Hello.
And then in the other corner, we have Jose. How's it going, Jose?
Hello, sir. Doing fine.
Excellent. Excellent. So you two are really essential parts of Sirius and everything that we put together so far. You two are the masterminds behind our backgrounds. So we are extremely excited to have you guys on our podcast today to tell us a little bit about your artistic process and everything like that. And I heard that Sean might be doing something weird, or will he? I don't know.
I don't know. It's all going to come down to if somebody on the podcast says the magic word. Now, you guys don't know what the magic word is, but if you say it at any point, it will activate me having to do the thing that I cannot reveal that I'm going to do. Suspense. Suspense. Kind of sus. Among Us. I'm ejected from the plane. Yeah, hip with the kids. John, back to you.
You are really Doritoed. Okay, so Jessica and Jose, you have been on this project for quite some time now. I don't actually know exactly how long you guys have been on, but and I'm not sure how to go to each person. Jose, how long have you been working on Sirius?
I think early last year.
Yeah, I would say it's about a year, and I think you guys got brought on around the same time.
Yes.
And so, yeah, over this past year, we've definitely, I mean, as far as the side that I've been part of, been a lot of stumbling through and kind of figuring things out. But you guys are actual professional artists, and we found you guys online, and you guys have done an amazing job for us so far. And over time, you guys have kind of evolved into, one person being the black and white artist and the other person being the coloring director. So, Jessica, how long have you been involved? About a year too, as well, right?
I think it'll be a year in May.
Wow, time does fly. Why don't you guys both take turns explaining and describing the world that you guys are creating the backgrounds for? Let's start with Jessica.
So we're creating a world that's apparently absent of what we recognize as regular life, but almost like we froze what we understand today in time and just let things evolve the way they would naturally without us. It's taken a lot of inspiration from post-apocalyptic scenes. I think when I was first brought on, one of the main reference points was Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts.
A classic.
Yeah, and a lot of it is more overgrown plant life rather than chemical destruction, which is what I've been going for when I draw these backgrounds.
Awesome. And Jose, what about you? Why don't you describe a little bit about the world that you're creating?
Yeah, I'm creating the world. Most likely, I see it through the eyes of the children. Most likely, been post-apocalyptic, but at the same time, it's much more entertaining if the children view it in a more colorful way.
Yeah, you can't be all frowns when the world has ended. You got to have some smiles. And that comes out through the imagery that you draw. And, it brings a smile to my face, even though, can't give away too much about the plot of Sirius. You got to stay tuned for the first episode for that. But yes, there is a post-apocalyptic theme. So I think you guys do a great job. If I may, what got you first interested in the creative world? Like when did you first pick up a pen to paper, if you will?
So during my childhood, I most likely enjoyed watching cartoons. That it get me in the interest when growing up. I must do this work. I must get in this industry. And when I get in the industry, I'm most likely to visualize things and think about everything that more on fantasies, but not on the dark side, but on the lighter side of gaining the childhood, which my memories are colorful about watching these things and experiencing these things by uh, bringing this thing up, which I can share to the viewers and through my work.
Awesome. What about you, Jess?
Yeah, it's been since I was a little kid, and I think it actually probably started more in the anime scene. But there's just something about animation, entertainment, and illustration that's so much more limitless than, today there's a lot that we can do, but animation's always been able to do almost more for me. So being part of that was just something I had to find a way into.
Question for you that might sound random, but I promise you it has historical precedence and merit. Not to get too far off the topic of your life, but is Speed Racer anime?
Yes, it is.
John, I did not ask you.
Sorry.
I asked the professional animator.
I think it's an influence of an anime, but it's been drawn through Western style.
Western style, making it totally not weeby to watch. Yes.
Not the Speed Racer during 90s, not the Speed Racer during this time.
Jess, is that pretty much the same exact thing you were thinking, which proves my point that I'm totally not an anime nerd because I loved Speed Racer when I was a kid?
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Awesome. Well, the science is settled. I can finally hang this over John for the rest of my life. Thank you very much. But back to you, because this is what the podcast is about.
Wait. Have I been the one saying it's not an anime, or are you the one?
No.
Saying
I'm the one who
anime?
says, like, so look, anime, with all due respect to anime, right? I don't consider myself part of the anime subculture, but I do enjoy a good Speed Racer, to which John then threw in my face repeatedly like a pie filled with not cream cheese, but shaving cream. Cream cheese pie doesn't sound bad. I guess that's just ricotta pie. He would be like, "Oh, you're also a nerd. It proves it." And I was like, "No, it's different. It's different." And they have verified it's different. So we're moving on before anyone can disprove that point. So Jess and Jose, back to you. What is your favorite part about creating, these worlds and creating this art and being in the role that you are when it comes to Sirius, but also just in your professional artistic life?
I think my favorite part is from our point of view behind the scenes. We get to see it from chicken scratch sketching all the way through to all the pieces from all the other visual team coming together and making something that's just, you couldn't even imagine it would come this far at the beginning stages. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome to see, just something beautiful come from nothing. Jose?
Yeah. When I'm doing things, I watch the animatic, then I visualize things. Like when Sirius is playing, right, jumping and that, I think, what should I do? What should I color for this scene to match this scene or something like that, to give a color in this or make a life in this scene, something like that. Makes me happy to do things like to giving life in my work.
That's awesome, man. That's so awesome. I have other questions, but I don't want to dominate it. So John,
we have this dichotomy between these two characters, and one has a very pessimistic outlook, one has a very optimistic outlook. And so they see the world differently. And one thing that I really like about the backgrounds that you guys have is that you can look at one of these pictures and you can feel the optimism through the colors, through the blue sky that we see. They're very optimistic images. But just the way that you guys have designed the world and the cities and the items scattered throughout the backgrounds, it also does allow us to see it from a very pessimistic viewpoint. So one of the things that I really appreciate about the work that you both do is that you are able to you guys are able to produce images that allow the viewer freedom of perception. And we don't necessarily shove one idea like, hey, this is really a bright scene. Look at all the colors. I mean, we do have bright colors, but we don't insist that they have to see it the same way that, Sirius would. You can also focus on the destruction, all the broken items from the 21st century into a different viewpoint and say, hey, this is a really trashed world. So anyway, long story short is that I really like how you guys do that. Quick little question is, Jessica and Jose, who do you guys relate to more, Sirius or Hope?
More likely on Sirius, or on like a child, happy, just doing things, not taking so much anything seriously, and but a bit of hopeless, something like that.
Cool. And Jessica?
I probably relate more to Hope with a little bit of Sirius.
So just definitional question, to catch up the viewers who may not know. Can you? I'll kick this to Jessica. Can you actually just define, like in simple terms, for a fool like me to understand, what exactly is a background?
So a background is an illustrated environment in which a character interacts. It sets a location and a time of day, and it propels the plot forward as the character is reacting and acting.
Gotcha. And if you could break down like the different aspects of what goes into, the animation, the actual drawing in the full scope of what it is that Sirius is in any cartoon. You've got the background, but then you've got the X and the Y, for example. What are those?
Well, you've got the background, like you said, then you would have, in our case, we have the character rig on top of the background, and then on top of that, we have lighting effects.
I figured that like you take Americanized content and that it's based off of content elsewhere in the world, but it sounds like there's, quite the variety. Where you're at, what are the main storylines, and then how do they differ? Is there a certain theme in animation or kind of just programming where you're at?
Yeah, most likely the theme of the theme in this country. The main problem that I see is that we've been eaten by the culture of mainstream media. There's too much creative thinkers that when we do a series or a concept for a specific idea, there are so many flooding of ideas that eventually the concept been trashed because it's like a mixed vegetables, and when you're cooking, been overcooked, something like that.
I like the analogy. That's funny. Jess, I started to say Jess, but then I was like, I should say her full name this time, but then it kind of got caught in my throat. What is your biggest critique of modern American animation?
Oh,
Dunk on these noobs.
My biggest hang up is most animation right now visually is very similar. There's a set style that people expect. So you can have a great idea with a really cool, funky, new, totally different visual aesthetic to it. And a lot of the time it gets completely wiped out and replaced with what we see on every animated series ever.
Family Park, South Guy, it's all the same. It's all the same. Don't you agree, John?
Well, I mean, those two shows that you're referencing have very different styles. Like Jessica, what are you referring to? Like, like the cutesy like Steven Universe style when you say that? And do you think that Sirius avoids that?
I do think Sirius has done an excellent job of avoiding that thus far. I guess if I were to give an example, if you look at like the pre-development for something like Gravity Falls, that style was like paper cutout in the very, very early stages. And don't get me wrong, I love Gravity Falls with my whole heart, but the final style that we got when it was produced by a big company was the same as all the other Disney TV animation shows.
Yeah. One thing that I really appreciate about the background work that you guys have been doing is that, and maybe is it and as I say, like, I have never been saying that I'm like, I know the ins and outs of the animation world. Like, this is my first time getting into it, but I have been noticing a lot more. I have been focusing ever since we started working on these backgrounds. I've been watching more animation and cartoons and noticing the backgrounds more. And the backgrounds always look nice, but I feel like they use the same background over and over again, and there's not nearly as much detail as what you guys have done. So I'm not sure if we like got too many backgrounds in this, but I think it definitely pays off because it definitely shows a lot more about this world. I mean, I don't know the exact number because we keep doing the like, 27A, 27D, like whatever it is. But I think we have over like 45 backgrounds for only 10 minutes of animation, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm very
No one
impressed
needs
with
to
the work
respond to
y'all are
that, but-
doing. It's like, I just didn't think it was possible for something to look so good. And you can see what they might look like somewhere relatively in the corner over here, thanks to YouTube's terms of service guidelines. Click our teaser trailer link. You'll love it. As you may or may not already know, but I'm betting you don't, Jessica is not only the queen of the backgrounds, Jose, of course, the king. And not only does she have some pretty groovy hair, but she also is the editor of all these Siriusly Caffeinated episodes. So she has to put up with me and John's antics all the time. And today she's stepping into the multiverse, into the episodes that she edits herself. So do tell, Jessica, what is some of your favorite and least favorite things about having to watch John and I rant and rave with guests?
You guys probably don't realize when you do it, but there are certain habits that you guys do every episode, and I'm always very tempted to like zoom in really close on exactly what you're doing, just so everybody else notices it too. Maybe in the future I'll point it out, but there's a whole plethora of things like that you guys do.
Oh my goodness. Can you just drop like at least one hint?
Just
or
just one. Come on.
Just one.
All right.
Come on, please.
One of these days I'll count, but John, you are touching your hair and it always winds up like this by the end of the episode.
No, I don't. Yes, I do that all the time. Right. Sean's dying for his though.
Am I? Okay, I'm dying for mine. Do tell.
You when you laugh at yourself, you turn away and squint really hard. And that's how you know it's a real laugh.
Because like one of my fake laughs would be like, but if it's real, it's more like
yeah,
that,
exactly.
Right? Yeah. Awesome.
See, I'm sure that both Sean and I know exactly I know exactly what you're talking about, Jessica, and Sean probably knows exactly what you're talking about with me. Like,
I
mean,
definitely
Sean
know
and
what
I
he's talking
have,
about with you. So
yeah, Sean and
the
I have
record.
an extensive history of sharing mannerisms and swapping in and out with them. Right. That's
Right.
that's one face that Sean does. Right.
There's a whole summer once where that extended into a fall where if we had a really good idea, like someone was like, hey, I think we should do X. We would turn to each other and go, oh, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I know. Thank you for tuning in to Siriusly Caffeinated with our two wonderful background artists. And you can see their work come to life on April 14th, 2022. You'll see both their names in the credits as the background directors. So yeah, dabs.
Any final thoughts, Jessica and Jose? Thank you so much for coming on. Any last words for the audience before we sink into the vortex?
Cotton candy. Does anybody else get cravings like that?
No, but whenever someone says the magic word, which is cotton candy, I have to continuously shave the rest of the episode.
I really hope
Even
he
if it
cuts
looks
himself
bad.
and he's just bleeding.
I'm bleeding. Jose, what do you think? Any final thoughts?
Thank you for making me a part of this wonderful show.
You're very
Well,
welcome.
thank you for
Thank
being
you.
awesome. Awesome. Awesome and awesome.
Sirius AI.